What's up, brothers? Amen. Welcome back. Today, I want to share the story about my first business I started when I was 11. And the key part of this story is my father. And I want to tell the background of, how this started in first grade, the inspiration, what happened at the age of 11, and the impact it's made in my life. I think this is good for anyone who is wanting to save and earn money, become an entrepreneur, or if you have a son and you want to have a framework or a mental model, if you will, of how to approach rearing your son or daughter, on how they can build skills and be independent and earn money. This is an incredible story. I think there's going to be a ton of takeaways. I hope to have under 12 minutes. But here we go. So my first business at the age of 11, well, we got to go back in time. In first grade, if you remember, kids would sell gift wrap. And I would go around the neighborhood selling gift wrap in first grade, where you'd walk door to door, you'd have this book, and you'd recommend things to sell folks, and then whoever won, won a bunch of prizes as a little kid. And my dad would go door to door with me every day, and the thing he told me was, after 100 no's, you'll get one yes, teaching me how to embrace the process and not be so focused on the result, because it can be discouraging not getting results. And the funny story to kick off was, after I had 100 no's, I came running back to my dad, and he was like, "What? Did you get your first sale?" And I said, "No, Dad. That was the 100th no. That means a yes is close." And it's something we laugh about to this day, because you can teach your children to be resilient. You can teach them to love the process and not be so obsessive over outcomes, because in modern times, we are pretty obsessed with the outcome and less focused on the process. But that was the foundation of learning and understanding sales. And at the age of 11, my dad walked with me as well whenever I started my lawn care company. Printed flyers, walked every home we could for 2 weeks straight. After a long day of work, my dad would walk door to door with me, and he would stand 2 to 3 doors down. The entire purpose was so the person at the door doesn't feel pressure to say yes or do anything. They don't even know that he's there, and they're just focused on this kid who's pitching them. And that summer, I got 20 lawns, and you mow the lawn every week to 2 weeks, and I was earning an incredible amount of money. It was very material for my life, and that happened through the age of 17. And did it every year. It gave me a foundation of understanding sales, marketing, responsibility, and one of the most important things was accounting. So on a loose leaf sheet of paper, my father would draw these columns, and the first 10% would go to the Lord. We would tithe. The next 25% would be saved, I believe, into my savings account. The next 35% was put into the business. Maybe those were flip-flopped, where 35% was saved, 25% into the business, to buy gas, fix the mower, buy supplies. And then the final 30% or so would be in my pocket. And as an 11-year-old, when you're keeping 30%, margin, for yourself after all that, it was pretty awesome. I was able to buy Super Nintendo games, Pokemon cards, all these different things. But the thing that was of most critical importance was, number one, understanding the process, accepting that things are challenging, knowing that you're going to need a lot of no's, or a lot of, you're going to have to run through a lot of walls. There's going to be a lot of headwinds in order to reach your goal. And lo and behold, every year for 7 years, after a week or two of walking door to door, you had enough business where you couldn't handle any more business. You literally could not handle more business. You're too busy. And that's where, if I was older, you'd begin hiring a team, building out and scaling from there. But it was imperative. And that's what foundationally set me up for a career in sales, marketing, go-to-market. Was just learning that from first grade, building my first business at the age of 11, and then taking those skills forward into everything I've done in my career since. And luckily, thank the Lord, I've been incredibly blessed. After that, I spent a stint working at Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, a technology company called Madwire Marketing 360. Played a critical role in helping grow that to 100 million run rate. I managed 40 employees and was constantly one of the top performers yearly on the monthly level, but also typically in the top 3 of sales, like regardless of the entire month. And it was important. And now, I work in software, doing go-to-market for a Bitcoin company, and we're seeing success there in a lot of what we do. And in a lot of businesses, you do have a team, but you have to learn how to work with the team. It's a lot more than just sales. But I think the most important thing I want to share and take away for this was, you can teach your children this. You can know it yourself. If you're 30-something and you're wanting to earn money and start a business, just be prepared. Every 100 no's, you get a yes. In marketing, we call that a conversion rate. So if you have 100 no's, or 99 no's and one yes, so one yes out of 100 no's, that's a 1% conversion rate. And you might have a lot of people who are kicking the rocks and they'll say, oh, stay in touch, in 4 weeks I'll need someone to mow and let's start then. Well, you have your CRM or a notepad, you follow up with them, but you can legitimately build a business doing this. I'm sure you've seen solar panel salesmen, pest control folks, roofers, they'll do this, but there's something about doing it at a young age, because whenever someone sees a young kid getting after it, working and taking a bite into entrepreneurship, oftentimes folks will give that kid a shot. And I think that's one of the best things about working on this whenever you're younger, building those skills and principles and allowing compound interest to do what it does. A lot of us wouldn't be so broke if we just had these habits. And it's one of the most important things a father can give to their son is understanding how to save money, how to be an entrepreneur, how to be okay with failing and embracing the process and not being so obsessed with the outcome, which the great outcome never comes without the work. So this is pretty quick and concise, probably under 7 minutes, but it's one of the best memories of my childhood, one of the greatest things my dad ever taught me outside of and leading me to the Lord and teaching me how to love a woman. But I hope this is helpful for you guys, and I'd love to hear feedback in the comments, if you've started a business or you have any tips for someone. But this has been great in my life, and I hope this is helpful for you. And put it to practice. It's very simple. Very few folks are willing to do it, but if you do it and you do not relent, you're going to have an incredible time. So love you guys, appreciate you, hope you have a good day. We'll talk soon.